There's plenty of confusion tonight surrounding plans to pause federal funding by the Trump administration.
And the administration says that this federal funding freeze, which is now rescinded, was meant to find areas to cut government spending. But as Joe Ripley reports, the uncertainty over funding has some critical programs in flux.
When Donna Davidson walks into work,
we require those federal funds in order to deliver the much needed services that we do.
She strives to deliver 1,800 kids across the region a healthy start to their education.
There are many barriers faced with these children and families. Access to health care is pretty significant. Transportation challenges are an issue.
Davidson says 90% of Easter Seals North Georgia's $35 million budget comes from federal and state funds, all to pay staff and run programs to benefit children's health care and well-being.
The most disconcerting thing was that we didn't know it was coming.
On Tuesday, the Trump administration announced plans to pause federal funding as a means to cut spending in certain areas that did not line up with the president's vision.
You have to decide, what are you going to do tomorrow? You know, how are you going to make this work?
A federal judge blocked the federal funding freeze before the president canceled the freeze, all within 24 hours. But Wednesday, the White House press secretary clarified the freeze was still in full effect to weigh potential cuts. All the whiplash has caused confusion for Mindy Binderman.
In an environment where it's impossible to get information, that causes anxiety, that causes potential shutdowns, that causes us to not be able to serve the children that we're supposed to be serving.
Now, nonprofits and other programs that rely heavily on federal funding are scrambling to figure out future plans.
How do we help parents find other resources to get ready if we have to stop our operations? You know, we're putting conditions in place. You know, if we have to start cutting expenses, what does that look like? You know, if we have to close down centers, where do we begin with that?
In DeKalb County, Joe Ripley, 11 Alive News.
Our thanks to Joe for that report. And the University System of Georgia sent a statement to 11 Alive, reassuring students, families, and employees who may have some anxiety over this funding freeze that Pell Grants are not impacted by this freeze. And here in Atlanta, the mayor warned affordable housing, economic development projects, and other public safety investments could be at risk should federal funding be cut.